right, we are live. All right, well, Clasiq fans, thank you for joining us tonight. I got a special guest with me. I have Brian from Regular Car Reviews, also known as Mr. Regular. Brian, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Try to get some good audio.
All right.
Our beverage for the evening is
Let's see.
Victory Brewing, Golden Monkey, Tripel, 9.5.
Nice. I am going with, this is a local brewery out here in Texas. I'm here in Texas. This is Tuck's Brewery. It's called their Juice Pack. They call it Juice Pack because it's got a little more of a fruity sort of profile to it. Kind of gives you all the information on it. But it's my first time having this. It's actually pretty good.
Cool.
All right. That was good.
I miss travel big time.
Yes.
I'm lonely. Thankfully, there's enough stuff for me to keep editing. But I'm like 2 weeks ahead right now. So I'm like, all right, I'm 2 weeks ahead. I can do whatever I want. There's shit to do. And so I've been having trouble filling the hours of the day.
Right.
I go for walks. I ride my bicycle. It's still too cold here in PA to really ride a motorcycle too much. We had some warm days where I was able to go jogging. It's just anything to fill the hours, man, and not go crazy.
Yeah.
I have my emotional highs and lows. Today was a pretty low day because there's nothing to edit. And then all I did is I woke up and then I futzed around. I was in bed for 12 hours last night. From 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. Like I woke up a few times. I think I woke up at like 7. And I'm like, there's no point in getting up. So I just read a few things. I walked naked into my kitchen. I took one of those melatonin gummies to try to put more sleep in me. And then I went back to bed or fell back to sleep at one point. And then eventually it was 11 in the morning, like 10:45. And I'm like, I'm kind of hungry. I don't feel like getting up. And then eventually it's like, well, it's 11. Okay, I'll get up and brush my teeth and do something.
Right.
And I futzed around on the internet. And then I went for a walk listening to Joe Rogan. And then I drove. It was nice enough. So I took the Falcon out just to go to the grocery store. And then I took the long way home. Then I talked to one of my neighbors that I only recently saw, and he like overshared this story about how he bought this house with a gun in his waist. And I'm like, dude, I talked to you like twice and already you're loading me this story on me. It's a whole thing. Like he bought it from somebody else's. There's an ex in there and some guy's on pills. And I'm like, well, okay, you're giving me this information now. Now, what am I supposed to do with it?
Right.
Is this guy going to come back into the neighborhood now and I need to watch out for him? He's like, no, the guy didn't say anything to me when I'm doing the dumb guy voice. I'm sorry. The guy was very nice. And he's into cars too. And he saw my Falcon. He has like a Ford F100 he's rebuilding with a 351 Windsor in it, or Cleveland, or I don't know what they were using. So it's that, but it's small town drama.
Right. Yeah, that's always interesting when you have neighbors who overshare and you're just like, I just really want to know how your day was and then get the high level response from that.
Yeah, like I want some surface conversation here. Not extra stuff that I got to deal with. Is there a cat?
There is my cat Nash. He is, poor guy, he is almost 10. He's got no teeth, no claws, and he's just as healthy as ever. Besides that, those defects.
For those people listening, I have a mute button here on my mic. I am eating dinner at the time, but I will hit the mic when I'm chewing. I don't want to be that guy on mic. Our governor supposedly is opening up the state parks on Friday.
Okay.
Half of the state is going into yellow alert. Like it's red, yellow, and green.
Right.
Half the state is going to yellow, but my county is like right on the line and didn't get it.
Oh.
Because we have 2 like medium-sized towns, and I guess the extra population meant that there were extra cases.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bummer. If you go into yellow in Pennsylvania, you can have a gathering of under 25 people.
Okay.
So the weird thing is, though, like, you're allowed to go out for activities, and like, state parks never didn't really close. I think it was just facilities that closed. Like excuse me, every single park I've been to, every single day there's been people in it, because it's like, that's all there is to do.
Right.
And like open areas and things like that, that's, you know, where we film. So if we're just going out as amateur photographers, passing the time with some outdoor activity, there shouldn't be any problem with that.
Right.
And also, since I live in nowhere land, PA, there really isn't authority figures. Like, the worst thing, we don't have like a California snitch on people off, you know, incentivize. Yeah. Do you have anything like that?
Well, no. So Texas is the exact opposite. Like, so I'm in Texas right now. We're like one of the states that's a little more ahead of releasing. So restaurants just opened last Friday where you can have up to 25% of the people in there. And then this week they're like opening like barbershops and stuff like that after this. But parks have been open as long as you're social distancing. I just don't know how that works.
Pennsylvania is two really like large metropolitan areas. You got Philadelphia, you got Pittsburgh, and the rest is just kind of Appalachia, with some like medium-sized towns here and there. But
I actually used to live in York, Pennsylvania.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. Amish town.
Yep, a little bit. Yep, that's down in the flat part of PA.
No.
No.
Oh no, it is. Sorry, it is the flat part of PA. Yeah, it's just all flat part.
Yeah, like once you get up past Lancaster, Lancaster has some hills, but then the Appalachian Mountains, they come across just north of Pennsylvania, Carlisle,
right?
Or Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Carlisle. They make the turn at Duncannon, and then they follow Interstate 78, and then they bang north up to Scranton, where that's supposedly the Poconos, but yeah. Yep, that was owned by my friend Matt Walsh. Him and I go way back. Yeah, he picked up that bike. I had no idea what it was or even knew that it existed. And I didn't believe him when he said, yeah, it has a like a high and low range transmission. I'm like, huh? Like, nah, you're full of it. This bike didn't exist.
Right.
And I saw it for real. I was like, get the heck out of here. There are 2 gear shifts. And then I wrote it, and then I said everything I needed to say in the video.
Right.
But it is really comfortable. It's an inline, I don't know if I said this in the video. It's an inline 4, which are naturally smooth, but it's rubber mounted. The engine's rubber mounted on top of that.
Oh, interesting. So it's
it is one of the, it is delightful. Made me rethink my GSXR. No, not a GX. I don't have a GXR. I just have the GSX 650F. I get back on that after riding Matt's, sport cruiser. I'm like, my bike is harsh and crude. And this bike that's 30 years old is better.
and so I guess the question we have to ask then, because you are a motorcycle fan and you ride.
Yes.
Between the two, if you had to choose, I know people hate being asked this question, but what would you prefer? I mean, for experience, I think motorcycle provides you kind of more involvement, and it's more of an event.
I'd still choose my 650F because I like my feet tucked up under me and behind me. I like the sport riding position.
Right.
But I don't like clip-on handlebars. I don't like dropped handlebars. I like sort of flat handlebars or motard style. Not quite as big as like an enduro, but just a little bit upright.
Okay.
But not cruiser. So there aren't too many light sport touring bikes made like that in the US.
Right.
And also, I do like a bit of wind protection. I like my hands to be shielded a bit, and the way the fairing is made on the 650F, and I think also on the 1000F, is even though there's no fairing directly in front of the handlebars, by the way the windshield in the front cowling is made, it throws the air. It creates like a pocket of air, like 6 inches in front of where the handlebars are. It's
so
pretty
you're
nice.
just warm and sitting there nice and snug.
Yeah, I have like this air pocket there that it doesn't look. My hands are exposed, but if you move your hand like up and down, you feel like the wind blade is like up there. They did a good job of making that really nice on the highway. I've had, I think, 11 motorcycles over the years. Yeah, I was into them before cars because they were cheap.
Right.
And after having a number of different kinds, I found out the make and model of the bike to me isn't as important as the ergonomics of the bike. Like
something that came later, that appreciation of ergonomics came later?
Yeah. Like in the beginning, I just wanted a bike.
Right.
My first bike was a 49cc motor scooter.
Oh, nice.
And that I had in high school. My parents told me not to buy it, and then I just came home with it. And they're like, I guess you have this thing now. I had no title. I just bought it from a guy with a lazy eye. And, excuse me. And then later on when I left college, I had a 1982 Honda. Can I be delightfully boring and list all of them?
No, this is perfect.
Okay, 1982 Honda CM250C. That's the predecessor to the Nighthawk and Rebel.
Okay.
It's a 200. It's called a 250. It has a 233 parallel twin. One carburetor feeds 2 cylinders. It's one of the best engines Honda ever made, and maybe it's one of the best motorcycle engines ever made. It doesn't even come with an oil cleaner, and it just has like a little screen, no oil filter. You have to change the oil every 1,000 miles. But it's so robust. They've been making that engine since the 70s, and only into the 2000s did they finally stop that thing, because it was perfect. It couldn't really handle the highway. I mean, if you weighed like 145 pounds, you could ride this bike on the highway, but any bigger, that little engine was struggling. After that, I think is one of the best middleweights ever made. Of course, I'm being biased. Is the Suzuki Gs500. Okay. Yeah.
My only experience with motorcycles has been the GSXR from 2005. So that's my only experience with motorcycles. And I only remember I couldn't touch the floor because it's such a wide seat. I'm a short person. They're one of the wider bikes is what I'm told.
So you couldn't flat-foot a GS500? Wow.
No. I'm 5'7", so a relatively short person. Huh. But I couldn't flat-foot a GSXR.
Oh, was your bike a GSXR or the? Wait, your audio dropped out there for a second. Is the bike you're talking about a GSXR or the GS500?
GSXR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was my.
That's even weirder because they're about the same height.
Are they really?
Yeah, I mean you can solve that with shorter dog bones on the rear swing arm. You can lower them.
Right.
And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Huh. Specifically for that reason. That's really odd.
For a short.
Well, I think it was stock height. Sorry. I think I have a friend of mine who's about your height named Justin Rameli. Maybe he's 5'8" or something like that. He had a GS500. And I think he liked it so much. I think he just did the 1 foot.
1 foot. Yeah. And that's,
a little
you get
bit
around it.
Yeah.
If you
GS500 is almost perfect. They made it with a fairing. They made it with a half fairing. The most valuable ones are the ones that came with a bikini fairing, and which meant it has like a little fairing around the headlight and a tiny little windshield. The engine was exposed, but then it had a little chin spoiler on the bottom. So it's like a 2-piece.
Oh yeah.
And mine had a knockoff version of it. My bike was, I miss that. I miss it, but they're kind of an agricultural style engine. Yes, they had 2 constant velocity carburetors. It was a parallel twin, 400 and change. They called it a 500. It was a bored out version of a Suzuki Gs500 that they made in the 80s. You could rev the nuts off of the thing. It sounded great. You could beat on them. They're kind of hard to find now. After I got rid of that bike, I went for a while without one. And then I got a Yamaha Xj700N. That is a muscle bike. And I think it had beautiful headers. And I think the headers used to be the banner on regular car reviews, like YouTube page.
Was that actually what it used to be? Was that?
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
Double cam, 4 carburetors, 80 horsepower to the rear wheel. It would raise its front wheel. So it was a cruiser style bike,
right? But
it had an inline 4 and it just revved like crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, no, what? No, it didn't rev like a GS500. It revved a little bit slower. I had no problems with that shaft drive, so there was really nothing to maintain. You just change the oil once in a while. After that, sold that, had a Suzuki DR350S kickstart only enduro or dual sport.
Right.
That was a rompy fun. That thing would raise its front wheel just on letting the clutch out too fast. The bike was so light. I rode that on some trails that I shouldn't have been on because, you know, I could then just ride it home on the roads. Like, it wasn't like I'm some guy like trying to ride on trails shady, like parking a truck in a trailer or something like that. Because then if the property owner finds it, they'll just wait by your truck. This one,
did it have enough travel to go off road pretty well?
Oh yeah, it could do it. It was just heavy for an off-road bike. It had a metal tank and turn signals and mirrors and everything like that. I dropped it a few times. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Got rid of that. Didn't have a bike for a while. And then, I had a 1970 Honda CL175 Scrambler. So that was a 70s style dirt bike, like off-road bike, but it really was just a road bike that had slightly higher suspension, still had chrome fenders, chrome turn signals, everything. It was kind of hipster to have. I was bad with that because I was in grad school at the time, and I would ride that thing around with no helmet and like John Lennon style glasses and a waistcoat and stuff. This must have been like 2009.
Was that more of a flat style handlebars though on that?
Yep.
Kind of lower, yeah.
Yep. Had a banana seat. I like that thing. It couldn't get, I think I sold it to a guy in Pottsville, and he told me he got that thing up to 80. Like he rebuilt the carburetors, had the engine out, re-ringed it. And was like, yeah, I'm getting good power on him. I went 80 the other day. I'm like, you are crazy to go that fast. Because if you hold up 3 fingers, that's how wide the rear tire is. This is 1970.
Nope.
Sold that, and then I bought another GS500 because I missed it so much. That one was from 93, and I missed it. That bike would have been like the perfect thing. Of all the bikes, I miss that GS500 the most because nowadays 90s culture is coming back, and that was from 93. Yeah. It was red with white wheels. And
that's so 90s right there already.
Pink kind of trapper keeper, like jagged, like the water jazz style thing, like the water droplet, like paintbrush style going down the side of the tank. I'm like, and later bikes had like a brushed aluminum style finish to the engine. This one was like gloss black. It was great. I sold that when I started RCR because I never rode it. Kind of miss it.
And that was all just for the factory. That red, white.
Yeah.
Oh. That's one thing I miss about older, not just motorcycles, but cars too. The color choices were such more, you have vinyl teal, you had vinyl red, and now it's like an optional extra. It's like it costs you like $3,000 on like a Range Rover or whatever.
Yeah, to just get different stitching. Like we reviewed the Honda Subaru
Forester Sport.
Yeah, the Forester Sport. Like, you get red stitching and some red trim. Extreme. It's like, man.
I almost bought a Forester Sport earlier this year.
Current gen?
Yes, that gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I chickened out and I went a little more regular. Got an Equinox instead.
Okay.
As
Chevy
the
Equinox.
family car.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
All
good.
right. My next question is why? Why'd you go with an Equinox?
That was more of a decision made with the head, where it was
Okay.
more like the offers that they were offering at the time here locally at the dealership.
Okay.
And it's a solid car.
Buy or lease?
Bought right now.
So it's all paid?
Yeah.
All paid off? Okay.
Finance partially, but.
Okay.
So put a good month down and finance the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this new, like a 2019, 2020?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Why? What's on your mind there?
You heard that silence right there.
I did hear the silence there.
My main mechanic guy is a guy named Bruce Henn. For people who know.
Bruce Henn's Garage.
Yes. The Jonathan Ward of the East Coast.
Yes.
He had some choice words about the Equinox.
Oh, okay.
Mostly concerning the HVAC system.
Oh, all right.
If that heater core goes, the steering column has to come out to get to it.
Ooh.
They did some interesting engineering. There was one in there that needed a new heater core, and I'm like, the seats are out and the steering wheel's on the floor. It's like, yep. Ooh. Everything's out. It's like worse than a Blazer from the 90s to get to that heater core. But yours is new, which means your coolant and everything is new.
Right.
My advice is to get that car paid off.
Yeah.
And then see where you are financially.
Right.
Who knows? GM can do some very good things.
Yes.
And then they do some things that are budgeted and they're reflected in the price. Because it's a new car, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. And I'll
know
that. I might go back to them and say, Mr. Regular told me this.
Not that Subarus don't have their recalls. They certainly do.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Well, now you got me worried. I'm going to take another sip of my beer here.
You'll be fine. I'm sorry to say.
No, this is good. We're talking car share. I'm totally unbiased by it.
It is an family car. And
yes.
What they say, it's very good at being that.
Absolutely.
Subaru, because it has such a loyal fan base, the dealers are in no position to negotiate. Because if you're not going to get it, somebody else will. So what exactly are we doing here?
Right. Exactly.
Could have been worse. You could have bought a Nissan. Nissan is don't touch a single car they make right now.
No.
I'd recommend Hunt. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Their future is so uncertain right now. With that, they had the merger that was supposedly with PSA, right?
Who are they?
It's Peugeot, the Peugeot group.
Really?
So that was in the works, and then Gozen went rogue and decided to stuff himself in a drum box and sneak out of Japan during his investigation, and then coronavirus happened and everything fell through. And I believe, per the news I've heard, is that deal is no more. That partnership is no longer on the table.
Huh. Peugeot is solid? Are they solid? Are those?
I don't know, but that would have brought Peugeot back to the States in limited network, right?
Yeah. So we could have like a legit hot hatch.
No, they wouldn't bring the hot hatch. According to the plan.
Screw it then.
It was whatever crossover they had, which is the equivalent of the Rogue, supposedly.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 years now. Yeah. So, every now and again, I miss it, but I had my moment with it. I had my moments with it, and what I was buying with that MR2 is I was really like so many people when they buy like the classic car or now the new classic cars is your youth a little bit, and it's weird to talk about that. But, I'm going to be 40 in 2 years. So,
congratulations.
Yeah. Halfway there. Stuff really starts burning out.
But you touched on this topic though in that Westphalia video. Was it not last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
About capturing your youth and those memories and that experience.
Yeah.
Beautiful
because the
video,
car
by the
doesn't
way.
change.
Yeah, beautiful video, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That
Thank you
was
so
great.
much. And thank you to Visual Inclination, the company that shot it.
Mhm.
But yeah, the MR2 is me trying to recapture like elementary school a little bit.
Mhm.
The wonder that comes with cars that aren't like your parents. There are cars that don't take you to places you don't want to go.
Mhm.
And that car was great. It was wonderful to look at. I got nervous whenever I parked it anyway, because it was perfect. I was the second owner. And
Right.
yeah, that car was put in a garage. It was driven. It was fine. Nothing. Everything worked. What did I replace in that car?
There's like wearing on the shift knob. I remember there's wearing on that. I don't know if you ever replaced that, but the caps from the wheels.
Oh yeah, center cap on the wheel. It lost one.
Right.
Found one on eBay. Put that on. The subwoofer speaker, the factory subwoofer on certain trim levels. You got a factory subwoofer under the driver's seat with its own driver.
Oh wow.
Yep, it would rumble your butt. So I just bought a generic speaker and just plugged it in.
Oh.
And fixed it. I think there was some peeling on the shifter. The steering wheel was fine. It was dyed blue leather.
Yes.
on the steering wheel and shifter. The cassette deck sometimes wouldn't play a tape. It was the low tier cassette deck where the cassette went in like hamburger style, not long ways. It went in flat.
Right.
And
it would just click and it would kind of fall down.
It would Yep. It would fall down and immediately, start playing like an 8-track. If you had the better one, it was a Logic deck that a motor would put it in, and those ones were more reliable. But whatever. The thing that made me think that this really isn't a drive it all the time car is it's a noisy machine. Take that out on the highway, you're like almost at 4,000 RPM on the turnpike, and the engine's right behind you. There's not much sound deadening, and it got to the point where I just drove it with earplugs in. It was just
that loud. Oh wow.
That's what you hear in an MR2. And then that, it wasn't the greatest gearbox in the world. Hondas are just so much better from all eras. Funny, just before we started this, I was on Facebook Marketplace.
A dangerous place.
Looking at, oh my God. There's a guy selling a shell of like an 86 Civic hatch manual. No engine. And I'm like, no engine, not a problem. And that opens the door for a lot of stuff to go in there.
We actually thought of you. We found an old Dodge Caravan. I think it was 90. Ooh, I need to find it. But it was white on white.
Okay.
It was perfect. Red interior. That
Texas car?
Yes. So
yeah.
I'll have to go find it and I'll send it to you after this.
Okay. My garage is full though. So
no, I understand. Yeah. This is more just to ogle at and admire as a pristine condition van from that era.
If I had more garage space, what's that old saying? Car collections are like goldfish. They just grow to fit whatever vessel you have. And if you're living on if you have a plot of land, God help you.
Yeah.
Then now you got koi or you got carp.
Yeah, carp pond.
Oh my goodness. There's a guy in my town out by the highway. He has like a plot of land, and it's, the cars are just rotting.
Oh, okay.
And you see that, and he just mows around them. And it's like, well, that's where they are now. They're worth scrap prices, and that's what there is. But the guys who think they have investments there, he goes, hey,
I know what I have.
Yeah, and this, this car will leave your possession when you die. That's
Yes.
really how it is. Or until you get in trouble for the tax evasion that you certainly are doing. Then somebody will get their hands on a rotted corpse of a, 68 Thunderbird or something like that. Oh, yeah, it's got some old pieces of iron. That's the thing about those old cars. I mean, people say they want to fix up. Hey, it's a great restoration project. No, it's a great angle grinder project.
Yeah.
Because those things, there was no undercoating. I mean, I guess people would just spray, I guess the thing to do in the 60s was to just get an old rag and dip it in used motor oil and just rub it underneath. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Well, going back to your MR2 then, if you were talking about you couldn't drive it, is that a case of, and I think some people, I know I've experienced this, where you're almost too afraid to drive it because it was too perfect. If it was less perfect, you might have been able to drive it more or enjoy it more.
Yeah. It's like the Falcon. The Falcon has some dents in it, paint chips on it. I don't care. Drive it everywhere. I make a point to not park it. I'll park it right in between two other cars. Go ahead. Open your door into it. There's already dents in it.
Right.
But the fact that it's a 60 Falcon. It's a 60 Falcon that has no pedigree. It's already been repainted. Their interior was redone in generic materials. And now it has a 302 and an AOD transmission in it. And
the Redeemer.
Oh, thanks for watching the videos. I named my engine.
Yes, we're a big fan. So you're gonna.
Oh, thanks.
Some glimpses of that as we talk along here.
I gave it a great engine, but for those listening, I called my engine the 302 Redeemer because the engine came from a Jaws of Life practice vehicle.
Right.
And but the thing is, it has a stock camshaft. So what are we doing here?
Right.
It's not. People want to I'm going to get on this rant on a future video. I think it's coming out on the 25th. I haven't begun writing it.
Okay.
In my head, there's this rant I want to go about. Exhausts don't do anything anymore at all. The last time the exhaust had an issue was during smog years when exhausts were legitimately restrictive. But nowadays, no. So my point is that the first thing you should do to an engine should always be, if possible, camshaft valve springs.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if it doesn't have valve springs, just ECU tune to increase the duration it spends in the higher cam profile. Because you can have your hot air intake, you can have your big exhaust, you can delete your cat if you want to. Your valves are still only opening so much.
You're just making it louder.
Yeah, you're doing nothing. It's Matt Happel. I always talk about him from the Sloppy Mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy who put 1,000 horsepower down in an LS1 with a stock throttle body. And he has on the sloppy Mechanics forums, it's the don't BS me build. Here's engine, you need the 4L80 transmission. Do not get the 4L60. You'll break it every single time.
Yep.
Don't even bother building it up. Pick your LS. Doesn't matter which one. 6-liter is great, but you can do it with the, what is it? The 4.8, I think is the smallest one.
Uh-huh.
That, what he calls the Hong Kong Hurricane, which is the eBay turbocharger. And all you need is camshaft and valve springs, and here's the tune. Do all of that, you're at 480 to 500 horsepower.
And you drove one of the trucks. I think it was actually on Regular Car Reviews.
Yep, that truck at the time had 450 to the rear wheels. When he was done with it, it was 1,037.
So you didn't drive it when it was 1,000 because you were still spinning the wheels and you were hopping on a bike.
Oh yeah, it would spin the wheels on the highway at 430 horsepower because it's a truck. There's nothing. It's a Colorado. There's nothing in the back. So yeah, that is something I think that would be in my future at some point. Would be
after mechanics car.
Yeah. Well, I would gladly buy one of theirs.
Right.
Not one of Happel's creations, or sometimes this stuff. I don't really want a truck. I don't really have a need for one. And the idea of having that much power in a pickup, you know, I'd have to drive around with just junk in the bed.
Just to hold it down.
Yeah. After going through a car build, and even though we had all the sponsors and everything, that I'm an English major.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Bruce 10 just telling me what to do, that thing would get done. I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I don't know if I want to do something like that again. Motorcycle, yes, because I do have experience. I used to flip all those motorcycles I've had, I flipped.
Okay.
With the exception of the Yamaha, all of them I flipped for a profit or traded up to a better bike that I would then flip. So, but tasting the glory that is the turbocharged LS engine.
Yes.
I want that. I've toyed with the idea of taking the 5.0 out of the Falcon, replacing it with a turbo LS. That would make the car undrivable, honestly.
It would be a beast, but there'd be some.
Yeah.
Car
you
that
create
small.
a tires. Yeah. The thing spins its wheels already.
Right.
So
it would remind me of one of those, what do they call them? And I don't know if you saw this trip to New Zealand, but in Australia they have like these hold-ins that just built for milking tires. With like the huge blowers out, and they just do like burnout contests.
Yeah. I'm sure we have a word for that.
I'm sure.
I mean, it's essentially all Happel builds.
Right.
They're just big power cars. They're not meant to handle. Like, here's what it does. It's meant to go on the dyno and meant to have big smoky burnouts. That's it. But but as Happel says, what is your goal? And if your goal is to build a big smoky burnout car, great. Here are all the parts you need. Right. It's when people are, they want a little bit of everything. That's when the money starts coming out. And that's also where you're going to build a car that really isn't focused and you're not really going to have the fun. Most people, what they want is what I want. They want a cruiser that'll go kind of fast when they need it to, but is not going to destroy you. And I think for that, 300 horsepower really should be the end of it. Like most people who say they want a turbo LS, which includes me, what you really want is a naturally aspirated LS with a stock tune in an older car with maybe a Tremec 5-speed. That's it. Like, but at the same time, there's the noise that a turbo gives you. There's the flutter. There's the hiss. There's
the acceleration too, I think.
Oh, there is. There's the build. So my wave of magic wand and habit right now would be a 1963 Ford Galaxy convertible.
Oh, big Ford.
Big boat. Yeah, Ford. Big boat. But with a turbo LS and either the 4L80 or the current 6L80. Or hell, give me 2 bucket seats and give me a Tremec 6-speed in there.
Right.
Actually, maybe manual with a turbo S. That could be asking for trouble. Or not. You just keep it in a higher... Actually, you know what? You could just keep it in a higher gear and just spin the turbo up and down. Yeah. Turbo's like load. But yeah, but that would also mean taking a Galaxy and just ruining it. All pedigree is gone.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, are you really ruining it? Or are you just saving the car and just keeping it alive through other means? I mean, you're going to have different arguments from who you talk to, the Ford fans, whoever, people who want to keep it stock. But that's interesting because